History is more than dates and events. It is the story of extraordinary people whose courage, sacrifice, and faith changed the world. Welcome to INSPIREHUB Studios, where history comes alive through cinematic storytelling. If you love inspiring true stories, subscribe and join us on this journey through remarkable lives. History remembers the powerful, but sometimes the greatest person in history is neither a king, nor a soldier, nor a politician. Sometimes greatness wears ordinary clothes. Sometimes it walks quietly through forgotten streets, holding the hand of someone the world has abandoned. Sometimes it changes because one person chooses compassion over comfort, fed the hungry, comforted the dying, inspired millions. Yet every night she carried a secret that no one was meant to discover. This is one of those stories. The story of Mother Teresa. To millions around the world, she was simply Mother Teresa. A tiny woman, barely 5 feet tall, wearing a simple white sari with blue borders. She owned almost nothing. She never sought fame. She never asked for wealth. Yet presidents listened to her. Kings welcomed her. Popes admired her. And millions called her a living saint. She carried dying strangers in her arms, fed hungry children, comforted people everyone else had forgotten. When cameras found her, they found kindness. When the poor found her, they found hope. When the world looked at Mother Teresa, it believed it was seeing perfect faith. But what almost no one knew was that the woman whose faith inspired millions privately believed that God had fallen silent. For nearly 50 years, Mother Teresa wrote in secret letters describing an overwhelming darkness, an emptiness, and the painful feeling that God had abandoned her. Those letters were never meant to be read. She even asked that they be destroyed after her death. But they survived. And when the world finally read them, millions were stunned. How could one of history's greatest women of faith feel so completely alone? That question is the heart of this story. This is the remarkable true story of Mother Teresa and the secret pain she carried until the end of her life. The secret pain of Mother Teresa, the faith she hid for 50 years. Before the world knew Mother Teresa, there was only Agnes. She was born on August 26, 1910, in the city of Skopje, then part of the Ottoman Empire. Today, that city lies in North Macedonia, Balkan Peninsula in Southeast Europe. Her full name was Agnes Gonza Boyakshu. The middle name, Gonza, means flower bud in Albanian. No one could have imagined that this little girl would one day become one of the most recognizable women on earth. Agnes belonged to a close-knit Albanian Catholic family. Although Catholics were a minority in the region, faith shaped every part of her family life. Her parents, Nikola and Drana Boyakshu, believed charity was not optional. It was a way of life. Every week, their dining table welcomed strangers, the poor, the hungry, the lonely. Drana often reminded her children, never eat a single mouthful unless you are sharing it with someone. Those simple words would stay with Agnes forever. When Agnes was just 8 years old, tragedy struck. Her father died suddenly after becoming seriously ill. Some historians have suggested that his death may have followed political tensions because of his public life, though the exact circumstances remain uncertain. Whatever the cause, his death changed the family's future overnight. The household lost not only a loving father, but also its financial stability. In a single week, everything changed. No one could have known that this tragedy would shape the woman she would become. Life became harder, much harder. Her mother now had to support the family alone. Yet Drana, the mother, refused to let hardship destroy generosity. Even when they had very little, she continued feeding those who had even less. Imagine the lesson young Agnes learned. Charity was not something you did when you became rich. It was something you practiced even when life was difficult. Years later, that lesson would become the foundation of her mission. As Agnes grew older, she became deeply involved in her parish. She sang in the church choir, attended prayer meetings, read stories about missionaries serving in distant lands. Among those stories, one place captured her imagination: India. Thousands of miles away, missionaries were dedicating their lives to educating children, caring for the poor, and spreading hope. Agnes listened, and something began to stir inside her. At just 12 years old, she felt the first quiet whisper that God might be calling her to become a missionary. It wasn't a dramatic vision. There were no flashes of light, only a growing conviction that her life belonged to something greater than herself. For years, she kept that calling alive through prayer. But saying yes would demand a painful sacrifice. It would mean leaving her home, leaving her country, and perhaps never seeing her family again. In 1928, Agnes made the most difficult decision of her young life. She was just 18 years old. Most young women of her age dreamed of marriage, raising families, or building careers close to home. Agnes chose something entirely different. She chose to leave. Not for a few months, not for a few years, but forever. She embraced her mother one last time, knowing there was a real possibility they would never meet again. Her mother, Drana, held back her tears. Instead of begging Agnes to stay, she offered words that would guide her for the rest of her life. Put your hand in his hand and walk all the way with him. Those words became more than advice. They became a lifelong compass. As the train pulled away from the station, Agnes watched her homeland disappear into the distance. She did not know it then, but she would never see her mother again. For the first time in her life, she was completely alone. Yet in that loneliness, she believed she was following God's call. Her journey first brought her to Ireland. There, she entered the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, better known as the Sisters of Loreto. The Irish convent was unlike anything Agnes had known. The weather was cold. The language was unfamiliar. Everything felt different. She began learning English because it would become the language she would use while serving in India. It was here that Agnes chose a new name. She became Sister Mary Teresa, honoring Saint Teresa of Lisieux, the young French Carmelite nun known for her little way, a spirituality that taught holiness could be found in small acts of love performed with great devotion. That idea resonated deeply with Teresa. She did not dream of changing the whole world at once. She believed one act of love, one person at a time, could transform lives. She had no idea how true that belief would become. Only a few months after arriving in Ireland, Sister Teresa boarded a ship bound for India. The voyage lasted several weeks. The sea stretched endlessly before her. Each sunrise brought her farther from Europe and closer to a country she had never seen. She stood on the ship's deck looking toward the horizon. She could not predict what awaited her. Would India welcome her? Would she succeed? Would she fail? The future remained uncertain. Yet despite every question, she continued moving forward. Sometimes, faith means taking the next step before knowing where the road will lead. When Sister Teresa arrived in India, she entered a world unlike anything she had ever imagined. The colors, the sounds, the crowds, the humidity, the poverty. Everything was overwhelming. She was sent to Calcutta, one of the largest cities in British India. At first, her work was not among the poorest. She became a teacher at St. Mary's School for Girls. The school children were daughters from relatively comfortable Catholic families. Teresa loved teaching. She taught geography, history, and religion. Her students remembered her as disciplined, gentle, and deeply devoted. Eventually, she became the school's headmistress. From the outside, her life appeared peaceful. She had stability, community, purpose. But every day, as she looked beyond the convent walls, she saw another Calcutta, a city of desperate poverty, children sleeping in the streets, families begging for food, the sick dying alone. She could not ignore them. The contrast haunted her. Inside the convent, there was order. Outside, there was unimaginable suffering. The question slowly grew louder. Could she continue teaching behind walls while thousands suffered just beyond them? On September 10, 1946, Sister Teresa boarded a train to Darjeeling. She was traveling for her annual retreat. It seemed like an ordinary journey, but history remembers it as the day everything changed. As the train climbed toward the Himalayan foothills, Teresa entered deep prayer. Later, she described what happened using a phrase that would become famous: a call within a call. She believed Christ was asking something extraordinary of her. Leave the convent, walk into the slums, live among the poorest of the poor, serve those whom everyone else had forgotten. It was not merely an emotional experience, it was a conviction so powerful that she would spend months seeking permission from church authorities to follow it. Leaving the convent was not simple. She had taken vows. The decision required careful discernment and official approval. Many questioned whether such a radical mission was wise. Others worried for her safety. She would have no financial security, no community, no guarantees, only faith. And yet, the call refused to fade. In 1948, permission was finally granted. Sister Teresa left the Loreto convent. She exchanged the traditional black habit of her order for a simple white cotton sari with blue borders. It was the ordinary dress worn by poor women in Bengal. That choice was symbolic. She wanted to look like the people she served, not above them. Before beginning her work, she received basic medical training from the medical mission sisters in Patna. She knew compassion alone was not enough. She needed practical skills to care for the sick. Then, she returned to Calcutta, alone. No organization, no buildings, no funding. Only a few rupees in her pocket, and an unwavering belief that God would provide. Her first classroom had no walls. She taught poor children by writing letters in the dust with a stick. There were no desks, no chalkboards, no books. Only eager young minds. People passing by stopped to watch. Some offered help. Others thought she had lost her mind. But Teresa refused to stop. One child became 5. 5 became 20. Small acts of kindness began attracting volunteers. The mission had begun. She still had no idea that this humble beginning would grow into one of the world's largest charitable organizations. By the early 1950s, the lonely woman who had once written lessons in the dirt was no longer alone. People had begun to notice her work. Young women came asking to join her mission. Doctors volunteered their time. Ordinary citizens donated food, clothing, and medicine. In 1950, the Vatican officially recognized her new religious congregation. It was called the Missionaries of Charity. Its purpose was simple, yet extraordinary: to care for the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, and all those who feel unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. Unlike many religious communities, these sisters chose to live among the poorest. Their homes were simple. Their possessions were few. Their lives belonged completely to those who had nothing. For Mother Teresa, poverty was not merely about lacking money. She believed there was another poverty, one that existed in every nation: the poverty of being unloved. In 1952, Mother Teresa opened one of her most famous missions, a home called Nirmal Hriday, meaning pure heart. It became known around the world as the home for the dying. Every day, her sisters searched the streets of Calcutta. They found people abandoned on sidewalks, men and women suffering from disease, people too weak to stand. Some had been ignored for days, others were nearing death. Mother Teresa would gently lift them into her arms, not to perform miracles, not to promise recovery, but to offer something many had never experienced: dignity. She once said, "A beautiful death is for people who lived like animals to die like angels, loved and wanted." Some patients recovered. Many did not. But almost all experienced kindness in their final hours. To Mother Teresa, every human life had immeasurable value. As the years passed, Mother Teresa's reputation spread far beyond India. Journalists wrote about her. Television crews followed her work. Presidents sought her counsel. Kings welcomed her. Popes praised her. The tiny nun from Calcutta had become one of the most recognized women on earth. Yet, fame never changed her. She continued wearing the same simple sari, sleeping in a modest room, owning little more than a pair of sandals, a rosary, and a few personal belongings. She often reminded those around her, "If you are humble, nothing will touch you, neither praise nor disgrace." By the 1970s, Missionaries of Charity houses had opened across Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, and Australia. What began with one woman had become a worldwide movement. Before long, the white sari with blue borders could be seen walking through African villages, Latin American barrios, European shelters, and Asian slums. Millions of lives touched. Yet even as the world celebrated her, another story was unfolding in silence. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this documentary and you appreciate carefully researched stories that bring history to life, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to INSPIREHUB Studios. Your support helps us continue creating powerful documentaries that educate, inspire, and preserve history for generations to come. Now, let's continue.
In 1979, Mother Teresa received one of the world's highest honors, the Nobel Peace Prize. Many expected a grand celebration. Instead, she asked that the traditional Nobel banquet be cancelled. The world offered Mother Teresa the finest banquet money could buy. She chose bread for people who had none. More than $100,000 was used to feed the poor. Standing before world leaders, she spoke with remarkable simplicity. She did not speak about politics. She did not speak about power. She spoke about love. She reminded the world that the greatest poverty was not always hunger. Sometimes it was loneliness. Sometimes it was feeling unwanted. Sometimes it was believing that no one cared whether you lived or died. Her words echoed far beyond that hall. Millions listened. Many were inspired. Yet, almost no one knew that while Mother Teresa spoke about hope, she herself felt an overwhelming silence deep within her soul. When Mother Teresa's private letters were finally published, many readers were stunned. Some newspapers even wondered, had Mother Teresa lost her faith? The answer is far more profound. To understand her struggle, we must understand a centuries-old Christian teaching known as the dark night of the soul. The phrase comes from the 16th century Spanish mystic, Saint John of the Cross. He described it as a mysterious stage in the spiritual life when a person feels completely abandoned by God. Prayer becomes dry, worship feels empty. The comforting sense of God's presence disappears. Not because God has left, but because faith is being purified. It is a love that continues, even when it no longer receives emotional comfort. Throughout history, many deeply respected saints have described similar experiences. Saint Teresa of Lisieux wrestled with painful spiritual doubt near the end of her life. Saint John of the Cross spent years writing about spiritual darkness. Even in the Bible, we hear Jesus Christ cry from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" These words have echoed through centuries as believers have struggled to understand the mystery of suffering and God's silence. Mother Teresa's letters suggest that she walked through a similar darkness. Year after year, she continued praying. She continued attending Mass. She continued serving the poorest of the poor. Yet inwardly, she often felt nothing. No consolation, no emotional certainty, only silence. Imagine the extraordinary contrast. Every day, millions saw a smiling nun whose faith appeared unshakable. But every night, she wrestled with a silence that seemed endless. One letter reads, "There is such terrible darkness within me, as if everything were dead." Another says, "The place of God in my soul is blank."
These are not the words of someone who had stopped believing. They are the words of someone who desperately longed to feel the God she never stopped serving. Perhaps that is what makes Mother Teresa's story so extraordinary. Her greatness did not come from always feeling close to God. Her greatness came from choosing love, even when she felt completely alone. She once wrote, "I have come to love the darkness," not because suffering was beautiful, but because she believed it allowed her to understand those who felt abandoned, forgotten, or unloved. In that sense, her hidden suffering became another form of service. Every morning, before dawn, Mother Teresa rose from her bed. She prayed, attended Mass, then walked back into the streets. She smiled. She embraced the dying. She comforted abandoned children. She carried hope to people who had none. No one looking at her could have imagined the silent battle she carried within. One volunteer later reflected, "She never made the poor feel like a burden. She made them feel like family." Perhaps that was her greatest miracle. Not that she never struggled, but that she never allowed her struggle to stop her from loving others. That may have been her greatest gift, not solving every problem, but reminding each person that they mattered. For Mother Teresa, this was not a crisis that lasted days or months. It became a spiritual journey that stretched across decades.
No honest documentary would tell only one side of Mother Teresa's story. As her influence grew, so did criticism. Some journalists, medical professionals, and authors questioned aspects of her work. One of the most vocal critics, British writer Christopher Hitchens, argued that Mother Teresa's homes for the dying lacked modern medical standards. He believed that some patients who could have benefited from advanced treatment instead received only basic care and comfort. Others questioned her willingness to accept donations from wealthy individuals, politicians, and business leaders whose reputations were sometimes controversial. Critics asked, should charitable work accept money regardless of its source? Some also argued that her public opposition to abortion, contraception, and divorce placed her at odds with many people around the world. These criticisms sparked intense debate and continue to do so today. Yet there was another side to the story. Supporters pointed out that the Missionaries of Charity was never created to replace hospitals. Its purpose was to reach people who had already been abandoned. Many of those brought into Mother Teresa's homes had been left to die, alone, on sidewalks, or in gutters, with no medical care at all. Doctors, volunteers, and countless former workers described witnessing extraordinary compassion. They recalled sisters bathing wounds, feeding those too weak to eat, holding the hands of dying strangers, and ensuring that no one had to face death alone. Whether one agrees with every aspect of Mother Teresa's methods or not, few dispute the remarkable scale of her life's work. By the time of her death, the Missionaries of Charity had established hundreds of missions across more than 100 countries, serving millions of people, regardless of race, religion, or nationality. Mother Teresa herself rarely answered her critics. Instead, she quietly returned to the streets. For her, actions mattered more than arguments. By the 1990s, years of relentless work had taken a toll on Mother Teresa's health. She suffered heart problems, pneumonia, malaria, and increasing physical weakness. Yet, she continued working as long as she could. On September 5, 1997, Mother Teresa died in Calcutta. She was 87 years old. The news spread around the world within hours. World leaders offered tributes, religious communities mourned. People of many faiths and of no faith remembered her life. India honored her with a state funeral, an honor rarely given to private citizens. Thousands lined the streets. Many wept. Not because they had known her personally, but because, through her example, they felt they had lost someone who reminded the world how to love. Nearly 2 decades after her death, on September 4, 2016, Pope Francis officially declared her Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims filled St. Peter's Square. Many carried her image. Many had been inspired by her life. For Catholics, canonization is not the creation of a saint, but the Church's formal recognition of a life of extraordinary holiness. The little nun, who once walked alone through the streets of Calcutta, had become one of the most recognized saints of the modern era. Yet perhaps Mother Teresa herself would have cared very little about titles. She once said, "If you are humble, nothing will touch you, neither praise nor disgrace." Today, the Missionaries of Charity continue serving in countries around the world. Their sisters care for people living with poverty, illness, disability, and abandonment. The work did not end with Mother Teresa. It continues, one act of kindness at a time. But perhaps Mother Teresa's greatest legacy was not the homes she built, not the Nobel Prize, not even the global movement she inspired. Perhaps her greatest legacy was proving that love does not depend on how we feel. For nearly 50 years, she experienced profound spiritual darkness. Yet, she chose every single day to become light for someone else. That may be the greatest miracle of all. As history remembers those who conquered nations, kings, emperors, generals, men and women who changed the course of history through power, Mother Teresa changed history in another way. She never ruled a nation. She never commanded an army. She never possessed great wealth. Yet today, more people know her name than many rulers who once controlled empires. Her greatest miracle was not simply caring for the dying, nor winning the Nobel Peace Prize, nor even becoming a saint. It was proving that love is strongest when it asks for nothing in return. For nearly 50 years, she walked through spiritual darkness, yet every morning she chose to become light for someone else. Perhaps that is why her story still speaks to believers, to skeptics, to the rich, to the poor, and to anyone searching for meaning in a broken world. History gave her many titles: missionary, humanitarian, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, saint. But perhaps the title she treasured most was simply servant, because changing the world doesn't always begin with power. Sometimes it begins with one act of kindness, one hand reaching toward another. History remembers kings, history remembers conquerors, but history will always remember Mother Teresa, because she conquered the human heart. If this remarkable story inspired you, help us continue bringing history to life. Please like this video, subscribe to INSPIREHUB Studios, and share this documentary with someone who needs to hear it. Every subscription helps us preserve the stories of extraordinary people whose lives continue to shape our world. What do you think was Mother Teresa's greatest legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep seeking truth, keep learning, and keep inspiring. This is INSPIREHUB Studios. Thanks for watching.